Game of Thrones movie announcement. Let's go.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. HBO just announced they're developing
Hi,
an
Charlie.
Aegon's Conquest movie from the person who wrote Andor, and it's supposed to be a totally different project that Matt Tomlinson, the writer of the Batman and the Batman
Aegon's
2, we've been
Conquest.
following that project through development for a while now.
Aegon's Conquest is the first one, right?
Everybody grab your Valyrian swords, hop your dragons, raise your banners, because it is time for war. This isn't the first time they've tried to make a Game of Thrones movie either. Dan and Dave tried to get HBO to make Game of Thrones Season 8 as a series of movies, but at the time, several years ago, HBO had no interest in making theatrical movies. What has changed now is basically the landscape of all TV and movies. Hollywood itself has changed. We're in the middle of that Paramount Warner Brothers buyout too. And there's going to be questions about how that's going to affect the Game of Thrones universe going forward. We will explain
That shit
what's
gonna
going
definitely
on.
affect it.
But you probably remember a little while ago, before all the Paramount buyout talk had started happening, HBO was trying
They
to
already had
decide whether or
development.
not to make Aegon's Conquest as a traditional series like they would normally do, or as a Dune-sized series of movies. Dune is the comparison that's being used by all the Hollywood trades that are reporting this news. The other
That's
good
actually a
comparison
smart
to
idea.
make would be the Lord of the Rings movies, because Warner Brothers now has the rights to those. They're in the middle of making the new Lord of the Rings movie, Hunt for Gollum, which is set during the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring. I'll do separate videos about that when they actually release a trailer. That won't be for a while. The new Lord of the Rings movie, Hunt for Gollum, which is set during the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring.
The beginning of Fellowship of the Ring. So that's before. Oh, wow.
I'll do separate videos about that when they actually release a trailer. That won't be for a while.
My favorite Lord of the Rings movie is the... Was that the sequel or the prequels? I think that was the prequels. The second movie.
Warner Brothers is just in the
prequels,
middle
I
of
think.
developing a bunch of really big fantasy movies. If HBO does wind up doing Aegon's Conquest as a series of movies versus a TV series, it would also mean very different things.
I'm cool with
making
that.
it to screen. It would look very different just in terms of what you would actually get.
It would look like
You
a
have to
fucking
imagine
budget
the 2
movie.
to 3 hour movie version of this, 9 hours if you consider it a trilogy, versus the 8 to 10
I'll
hour
take that.
series,
I'll
or
be in there.
40
What?
hours with like a 4-season
It's Aegon shit.
There are several other Game of Thrones prequels HBO is either in the middle of making right now or in development, so I will explain all of those at the end of the video too. Because even though
Okay.
it seems like the world is on fire right now, Hollywood itself is on fire. The Game
Nigga, after watching that war video, nah, you right. The world's on fire.
of Thrones universe is pretty healthy. Everybody has been doom scrolling the past few days because of the Paramount Warner Brothers buyout news, because the past several years we've all lived through this. All these mergers that Warner Brothers and subsequently HBO, because it's part of Warner Brothers, have been through have been disastrous for everybody involved. But if you believe him, David Ellison, the head of Paramount Skydance, the person who's leading this buyout at Paramount side of things, claims they won't touch HBO or mess with anything that they're doing. That includes the Game of Thrones series and universe, whatever they wind up doing with it, and it'll be left to itself to continue making all the series that it wants to make, doing all the things that it wants to do. And his personal favorite thing that he mentioned specifically was Game of Thrones, just in terms of the IP.
Real quick, because they showing it. I actually enjoy Egg and Dunk. Good series to me.
Itself, like all of the Game of Thrones universe. So it sounds like David Ellison wants HBO to make
I did my review to it. It's on I got the reactions on my channel, but my review is on my last live. I yet to put it out though. But it's on my first live, the Daredevil one.
every single Game of Thrones series they could possibly make, and he's just as happy to have Game of Thrones movies too. Like he'll just take anything that they will make.
Yeah.
With a B.
Billions.
So if it wasn't clear,
With the B.
HBO isn't making this movie because of the Paramount buyout. Like Paramount isn't asking them to make this. This was something that HBO put into development long before Paramount submitted the winning bid for Warner Brothers. Per The Hollywood Reporter, Beau Willman, who wrote Andor, is currently writing this first movie. They say first movie in a potential trilogy. As a
John Bap, I gotta talk to you now. The Andor nigga is writing this. I gotta watch Andor now. Now I have to.
I think what they mean to say is for Aegon's Conquest, obviously, it'll be as big as Dune, meaning that the budget would be $175–200 million at this point with inflation. I know everybody would love to see Henry Cavill as Aegon the Conqueror, like the Giga Chad version of Aegon the Conqueror, but they haven't announced any actual
Giga
casting
Chad.
because it's still early days. That wouldn't happen until they finish the
Giga
script
Chad
and
version of
attach a director.
Aegon.
So you are free to fan cast as much as you want. Like, who do you want to direct this? Who do you want to play all the characters? For a really big A-list movie, they would likely be going with bigger A-list names, like more established actors, as opposed to total unknowns, which they would normally do for most of the series, with a couple of
Look, bro, I'll take Henry. What? What? As Aegon? Give me that.
exceptions. Like, Matt Smith was a pretty famous actor, pretty prominent in movies and TV shows for House of the Dragon. Sean Bean, a number of the other original Game of Thrones actors, were also pretty established when they joined that series. One of the other biggest
You could be
problems
getting that
they've
shit,
had
too.
so
Look at this
far
nigga
is
getting that
George R.
shit.
Martin has written some material for Aegon's Conquest, but not in the novel type of format, easily adaptable format that he
give me
did
that.
for Song
Come
of
here,
Ice and
nigga.
Fire
He.
series for the original Game of Thrones series. We've actually seen that play out with House of the Dragon, where he just has like a loose framework of bullet points across history that they try to turn into much larger material for an actual full series. For the most part, that has been a mixed bag. Like, it could go either way. Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes you wind up with Daemon wandering around Harrenhal for an entire season. It's a little bit easier
Trash.
to get around that problem if you're doing this as a shorter 3 to like 9 hour
So,
trilogy
you know what? You gotta skip past the boring shit. Yeah.
of movies
I'm with that.
versus like a 40-hour 4-season
I'm actually
series.
with that.
All the written material on the Conquest was collected in a book called The Rise of the Dragon being a reference to Aegon Targaryen, the Conqueror. It's part of the larger Fire and Blood compendium, which is the ongoing history of the Targaryen family across the timeline that Martin has slowly been
Bro, that
writing and
history is so
collecting in the
deep, bro.
background while
It's
he
crazy.
finishes Winds
I
of
saw
Winter.
like this photo of like every fucking here it go right here. Yeah. This is all the Targaryens and shit. This shit they all cousin fuckers. And they fuck each other.
In the spring, the other Tales of Duck and Egg novellas that he's been working on. If you are a big fan of audiobooks, Harry Lloyd, who played Viserys, Daenerys' brother during the original series, narrates it. He also narrates a lot of other Viserys working on. If Winds of Winter, the timeline that Martin has slowly been writing and collecting in the background while he finishes Winds of Winter, Dream of Spring, the other Tales of Duck and Egg novellas that he's been working on. If you are a big fan of audiobooks, Harry...
Wait. So the Duncan Egg story not even done? Why would they start something that this nigga ain't finished? I don't like that.
Harry Lloyd, who played Viserys, Daenerys' brother during the original series, narrates it. He also narrates a lot of other Game of Thrones books like Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It's really, really cool. It's like a Targaryen telling you the history of his family. The actual story of Aegon the Conqueror that George R. Martin has written is divided into a couple different eras. There's Aegon's Conquest, which actually starts with his birth and explains what Aegon is doing when he's growing up on Dragonstone, how he gets involved in the Century of Blood in Essos. That's the aftermath of the Doom of Valyria, which was a civil war across that realm with warlords just fighting over the ashes of the Valyrian Empire. Then there's the actual War of Conquest. Now that's also been expanded by House of the Dragon. The movie that they're making would be canon to all the TV shows, so they would also have to include the lore about the Valyrian dagger in Aegon's dragon dreams.
That fucking dagger. Fucking trash. They gotta fix that, dog. Look, Game of Thrones, fix the ending, bro. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it, bro. Just fix it, bro. Just please, bro. It's that dagger that's trash, dog. Fix the shit. Fix that dagger, nigga. Fix the ending to it. Rewrite it. Something, nigga. The fans will accept it. Fans will accept that shit in a heartbeat. Redo that shit. Just delete it. It has been, just put out a tweet or something. It has been ultimately deleted, nigga.
We would probably see Aegon actually have that dragon dream during the movie or the
It's a big ass sword, nigga.
Etch it on the actual Valyrian dagger. Part of the new lore they created for House of the Dragon Season 1 is that Aegon the Conqueror had dragon dreams like Helena during that series, and the reason why he chose to conquer the Seven Kingdoms in the first place is because he had a dragon dream of the second long night in the White Walkers, had the prophecy of the prince who was promised then etched into his Valyrian dagger by pyromancers, and would pass the dagger down in the prophecy to all of his successors, the future line of Targaryen kings, because the prophecy stated that the person who would stop the Long Night would come from his blood. And it's just that Aegon and none of his successors
That's what I'm saying. None of his successors did it.
knew when the Long Night would happen. All of them, Aegon included, thought that it could happen at any
That's
moment.
why it's so trash. None of the successors did it. Fucking Arya.
At any moment, the White Walkers will burst through the wall and attack the realm. Nobody at the time across history realized that it wouldn't be until 300 plus years later until the events of the original series. Right now, on
Supposed
House
to
of
be
the Dragon
Jon.
Season 3, we're getting ready for those episodes. Rhaenyra thinks that the second Long Night is about to happen, and she's the only person that can stop it. She thinks that she is the prince who was promised. You have to remember that Valyrian is a gender-neutral language, so it's prince or princess who was promised. This is why the culmination of the prophecy can either be Daenerys or Jon Snow or both of them. Right before the actual War of Conquest, Aegon determines the only way for Westeros to survive the Second Long Night was as if it was unified. Up to that point, Westeros had only been ruled by 7 different kings and queens since the time of the First Men, and they were all constantly at war with one another. The realm was very fractured politically.
They was killing each other,
Then the
bro.
actual War of Conquest took a couple of years. He didn't have to burn every single realm with Drogon and his sister Visenya and Rhaenys dragons Vhagar and Meraxes. Some bent the knee, like Torrhen Stark, the King of Winter in the north. They also referenced that during House of the Dragon with Cregan Stark and Jace. There are a lot of theories about how this went down. We would obviously see this go down during the movie or the TV series version of this. But the actual War of Conquest wasn't just a series of high fives and dragonfire between Aegon and his sister wives. It took a couple of years. A lot goes on across the realm with all the different kings, different realms, as well as on Aegon's side during that period. After the actual conquest, the fighting itself was not done. Like, the war itself wasn't really done. Aegon didn't conquer Westeros, then just call it a day. The next era of his life is called the Reign of the Dragon, which covers his governance over the realm. And Aegon spent most of the rest of his life constantly on Balerion the Black Dread, his dragon, flying around the realm with his sister wives, putting down smaller uprisings, and then the later wars with Dorne.
Yeah, you will have to break that shit up.
There were several
you can't have one
minor
movie
wars
on this
with
shit. You
Dorne
need
that
like
happened
3.
Between the conquest, the death of Rhaenys and Meraxes much later in the timeline, and towards the end of his life, Aegon only ended the ongoing wars with Dorne, like basically a temporary ceasefire, after he received a mystery letter from the new king, Nymor Martell, and nobody ever found out what was in his letter to Aegon. Aegon never spoke of it after, but he called off the war and allowed Dorne to remain independent after reading it. The theory is that it had something to do with the truth about what happened to Rhaenys, because she died in Dorne during one of the wars. They can use the new movie or the series to explore this. There are a couple different ways they can turn the story into a trilogy of movies, assuming that everything does go well with the first one, by doing Aegon's younger years before the conquest, fighting in the Century of Blood in Essos, then the actual conquest, like the War of Conquest, then the Reign of the Dragon and the Dornish Wars in his later years. They've kind of got into this with the Dune movies. The difference with the Dune movies, Dune Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3, Part 3 will be like the last movie that Timothée Chalamet makes, is that they have Frank Herbert's books fully written to adapt. It's much easier for them to adapt it than something like Aegon's Conquest, which has only been lightly covered by George R. R. Martin, not fully enough that you would normally want to adapt for. So he would probably have to be heavily involved, helping them with extra new lore. Like, can we add
finish your books, nigga?
Can we add this for the other characters? There's a bunch of other material we need to write in for some of these characters. But remember, the competing project here, HBO is pitting this movie franchise version of the story against a traditional series version, and it sounds like they're going to decide which way they're going to go by the time they finish writing the movie. The whole reason why they'd even think to do it as a movie as opposed to a TV show is because the story is largely a series of really big battles with very, very big dragons.
That's why I'm cool with it being a movie.
Than the ones we're seeing on House of the Dragon right now, and it would almost be too expensive to do it the way you would expect them to want to see it on a TV budget. House of the Dragon, for example, is a little over $20 million per episode, about $160.
That's a lot of fucking money per episode. Holy shit.
million, a little bit more than that for a season, because there are so many dragons, so many big battles. It's the main reason why they cut the last two episodes, episodes 9 and 10.
And they put them on the other, yeah.
Which were supposed to be the Battle of the Gullet, because we see it during the House of Dragon season 3 trailer. That would have been way more expensive for them to add to the budget of season 2. And it kind of seems like budget is like a real big problem for Warner Brothers in general right now.
Debt.
It will continue to be a big thing.
They're in debt, my nigga.
In the future. Like, that would be the one thing that Paramount does to exert influence over HBO in all this Game of Thrones stuff. Anything else that they make to Warner Brothers in general is to keep them within a certain budget range. This is the main reason why HBO started making
20 million per episode. It's crazy.
Much smaller series in terms of vibe. No dragons, no major battles, and the fact that they could turn it around on a yearly basis like the older original seasons of the Game of Thrones series. So if they did Aegon's Conquest as a series, it would look a little bit more like House of the Dragon with some big battles, but a lot more of interpersonal character dynamics in between the battles themselves. Versus a movie,
I
which
enjoy
is
it,
more
bro.
Focus on the actual battles.
Do the movie,
themselves.
don't do a series.
So
do a
basically
movie,
putting
because
up
y'all will ruin it.
spectacle against character drama.
Do a movie.
Everybody post all your reactions.
Skip all that
in the
boring
comments
shit.
below, and let me know if you want them to do this as a series of movies or as a traditional TV series like HBO would normally do. Whatever they wind up doing, of course I will do videos for it. I'm personally just happy to get Aegon's Conquest either way, but I would prefer a TV series if they think they can do it on a TV budget.
Movie.
But if a trilogy of Dune-sized movies is what Game of Thrones needs in order to stay healthy as a franchise and onboard enough new fans to keep it healthy for another 50 years, I'm also fine with that too.
Show me this fucking worm.
This is the state of all the other prequels and sequels that they're making right now. Obviously, we have House of the Dragon Season 3 episodes starting in June. I will do more trailer videos for that as they release them. There's the Mad King Robert's Rebellion Tourney at Harrenhal stage play that they're also doing this summer that will cover the tourney at Harrenhal. I just did a whole separate video about
They doing a stage play?
that as they release them. There's the Mad King Robert's Rebellion Tourney at Harrenhal stage play that they're also doing this summer that will cover the tourney at Harrenhal. I just did a whole separate video about that. It's going to be localized to Stratford-on-Avon at first, then it'll probably go to London and to Broadway. It is basically HBO doing the same thing with Game of Thrones that...
Hey, I'll go watch that. I'll go to a Broadway and watch that shit. An IP, A Song of Ice and Fire, has run its course. Yeah, that it has. Yeah, it has. That's the fact. Yeah, it has. It has. Yeah. I'm tired of A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm tired of that shit now. Do something else. I'll go watch this Broadway, bro. The Mad King.
Netflix did with Stranger Things in the
They need to come to the States with that.
Maybe if we're lucky, at some point in like 5 or 6 years, they'll put it on TV so we can actually all watch it if you aren't able to go to Broadway or somewhere else in the world where they're actually doing the play. They're almost done filming A Night of the Seven Kingdoms Season 2. I've already done a couple videos about that. That'll be released. Season 2 will be released next year in 2027. Then there's The Nine Voyages, which now they're talking about doing as an animated series for the life of the sea snake, like the younger life of the sea snake. Then there's a Nymeria and 10,000 Ships TV series 2, which would be like a big House of the Dragon size series. There are probably a few unannounced projects too. There's always a bunch going on in the background that haven't quite percolated yet to full development. Usually the only ones that they publicly talk about are the ones that have a chance that
Why not like give them all to just give them all to us? Y'all ain't doing shit with them. Y'all ain't doing nothing with them, nigga. Just give them all to us, dog. Do what Star Wars not doing, and it's giving us the content that we want. We actually want to see these type of things. So if they do it, I'm here for it.
Actually getting made. What'll probably wind up happening later this year is that we'll get House of the Dragon Season 3 episodes, we'll get more trailer footage for Night of the Seven Kingdoms Season 2, and we'll hear a little bit more about how this Game of Thrones movie is progressing and where HBO is going to land on it. So I will do more videos about it when they do make more big announcements. I just did a much bigger House of the Dragon Season 3 trailer video. Click here for that, and click here for...
Alright, good video. I am for the movie. I don't care about Carol's, what's that, Verilon? Enough to watch an entire series about him. Yeah, I definitely don't. Yeah, I don't give a fuck about him. Yeah, you can cut that whole shit off. I don't give a fuck about his series, nigga. Get me out of that shit. I don't want to see it. Get me out of there. I don't care a fuck about that nigga. Corliss, nigga. Get out of here. Corliss. Your name Corliss, nigga. His name Clarence. Get out of here, dog. But good video about Emergency Awesome. Subscribe to the channel. I'm for the movie. I'm for the movie being over the TV series of what's up, Ishi Locos. I am for the movie over the TV series being put out of the Aegon's Conquer, because I feel like the TV show dives deep and like he said, with Damon walking through fucking Harrenhal, whatever the fuck, that shit was just too long, too boring. So if the movies can skip over that shit and like actually give you the shit that matters in Aegon's, I'm for it, bro. And I'll say put it out. Do the movie, do a trilogy, and that I think it'll be fire, personally. And I think it'll make money too, because the Game of Thrones fan. I think the Game of Thrones fans will show up for a movie in a movie theater. Aegon's, yes, that's the right movie. If you're gonna put a movie in the movie theater and have it Game of Thrones, it should be Aegon's Conquest. That should be the one. But like and subscribe, comment below how you feel about this. Do you feel it should be a series or a movie? Like we said. And peace. QG.